That was one of the committee members, Senator Norway.
5 decades ago, a young lawyer from the Appalachian Mountains found himself in the middle of what would change the course of American history. Rufus Edmisten would go on to become North Carolina's Attorney General and Secretary of State. He recalls the words of John Dean, Richard Nixon's counsel, that would eventually bring down the President of the United States.
As the President discussed the present status of the situation, I told him that all I'd been able to do was to contain the case and assist in keeping it out of the White House.
John Dean had just testified before the committee for 3 days saying that the president was up into his eyebrows in the Watergate thing. And of course, from the White House, they said, no, he's a liar, he's crazy, no such thing. Nixon had just won a landslide election in 1972. And the discovery of those tapes would tell whether or not John Dean was telling the truth.
North Carolina's U.S. Senator Sam Ervin was the chairman of the Senate Watergate Committee and chose Rufus Edmisten to be his deputy chief counsel. The committee was investigating the break-in of the DNC headquarters in the Watergate office building and any involvement Nixon may have had in it. After John Dean's testimony, Senator Ervin said, "We need to first ask the president if he will give us the tapes." There was a bit of humor in that very serious moment.
All of a sudden, he turned to me and said, "Rufus, go get the president on the phone." Sort of like, go get a loaf of bread. I said, well, okay. And I knew the number to the White House, and I rang it up. And Miss Rosemary Wood answered the phone because I knew this number went to her. She was the president's secretary. And I said, "Ms. Wood, this is Deputy Chief Counsel Rufus Edmisten of the Watergate Committee, and Senator Ervin would like to speak to the president." And she said, "Well, hold on, I'll be back." And all of a sudden, this voice comes on the telephone. "Senator, this is Richard Nixon." I thought, my God, I didn't expect the president. And for some unconscious, crazy reason, I blurted out, "Mr. President, the senator wants to get you on the phone." Oh my gosh, I thought I will never get over this as long as I live.
Nixon did not agree to release the tapes.
Within about 10 minutes, the committee decided by a vote that they would subpoena the President of the United States for the first time in history from a committee of the Congress.
And it was Edmisten who hand-delivered that subpoena.
And I did a little tricky thing that day, a little mischief in me, I guess. I had one of those little pocket-sized constitutions, about this big in my hip pocket. And when I delivered the subpoena, I just sort of automatically reached in my back pocket and pulled out that Constitution and said, "I've heard it said that you need one of those down here too."
It took a unanimous decision by the U.S. Supreme Court to get the tapes released.
Well, there's no way. I'm just thinking, if they don't cooperate, what do they say?
They revealed Nixon conspired to cover up the break-in. They also exposed just how far Nixon was willing to go.
If you could really dig down deep in Nixon's mind and say, okay, what is it that you crave and like about public life so much that if he were to tell the truth, he'd say, "I get to punish my enemies." That's throughout the tapes. It was throughout the Watergate hearings, his enemies list, and the press was his most hated enemy.
Part of Nixon's problem, Edmisten believes, was those who were around him. In the end, 48 people involved in the Watergate scandal were convicted. Nixon was told by fellow Republicans he would be impeached and convicted. To avoid that, Nixon resigned.
And they gave him the worst advice that could ever be to any president. If he, in the early stages, if he'd gone before the American public and said, "Look, I got some folks who did some very stupid things. I want to apologize for it." The American people are very forgiving. He might have survived and probably would have gone down as one of the better presidents. He probably would have survived were it not for the stupidity of those surrounding him.